We are live now. Hello and welcome back to Blab2Learn. So I know we have had a short vacation. Blame it on the crazy schedules. Our apologies, but I guess we'll make up for all the loss. We have a very knowledgeable person and someone whom you can probably connect with easily based on the subject we have. So, welcome Abhishek. Welcome to Blab2Learn. We are so glad to have you here. Just a quick round of introduction. I am Malhar Barai. I work with Tech Mahindra. I handle the media and entertainment practice within Tech Mahindra, and I am joined by my awesome and fantastic, fabulous co-host Falguni and our guest Abhishek. Over to you, Falguni.
Hi everybody on the show and welcome Abhishek. Thank you Malhar. So my name is Falguni, Professor Falguni Vasavada Oza, and I teach advertising strategy at MICA. Feeling wonderful to have Abhishek on the show because it's a topic which is catching everybody's attention nowadays. And Abhishek, I just love your designation and what you've written on Twitter. You are perception shift manager. So you shift perceptions. I would love to do that. Wow. So please tell us something more about yourself and your career, your journey into your work life. Of course, we have your LinkedIn profile, but it would be wonderful to hear it from your own mouth. So over to you, Abhishek.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Fargani. Hi, everybody. Okay. Yeah, my designation is perception shift manager, and it is very interesting to, shift perception, shift people's mind. I mean, the way they think about you and the way they perceive you, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very challenging. I'm not going to admit that it's easy, but yeah, it's fun. And this is something I mean that happened to me. It's not something I went after. Yeah, so after my graduation, I moved into sales. So most of my life I've been a salesman, mostly IT sales. So I sold a lot of Microsoft products. That's pretty much what I used to sell. And 4 years doing that, and I got really bored of it, and I felt that advertising is something that I really love and something that I wanted to do. And that's when I started off my career as a copywriter. So I wrote copy for quite a while, and well, this position just opened up, and it was something that seemed very interesting because it married my skills as a salesman with my skills as a writer, and it was sort of like a unique proposition where I could go in and work on online reputation management. So, and it's an upcoming field. It's not something that has been established in so while now. So it's in infancy. So we still have a lot of to do, and yeah, so it's very interesting. It's a unique field. Yeah. And yeah, so that's pretty much my journey to ORM.
So are you right now connected with any company, or you are working as an independent consultant? Because you did not take us through. You started as a copywriter, then you went on to becoming a reputation specialist, and as of now.
Correct. So there are quite a few brands that I handle. I work for an agency that's called Autumn Worldwide. We're based out of Bangalore. Yeah, and one of the biggest portfolios that I handle is PepsiCo. PepsiCo has 16 brands in them. So I handle all 16 brands. And apart from PepsiCo, Burger King is another client of mine.
Okay.
Burger King, Papa John's, Exide Life Insurance. Yeah. Then you have Himalayan. Then I do Arrow. Yeah. So these are all the brands that I work on. I help them with their reputation. Now, online reputation management might be something a little tricky. A newbie would probably not be able to understand exactly what it means, but I'll just simplify that. So my job, for example, let me take PepsiCo. So what I do with PepsiCo is I have a whole listening team that I work with. These people sit in and listen in on conversations that happen on social media.
Mm-hmm.
So you have tools that help you do that. You have, for example, one of the tools we use is Radiant 6 by Salesforce. So we use Radiant 6. We mine social media. We pick out conversations wherever the brand is mentioned. We have a sophisticated list of keywords which we use to figure out what conversations are going on. And yeah, so unfortunately, we have still not come across a tool which can understand the sentiment that is there in a comment. Yeah. So there is no machine that can understand empathy and sarcasm or a positive or a negative. I mean, you do have
But
some.
I believe that's where someone like you would step in, right? A tool
Yes.
cannot take away the human skill. So I believe you would understand the sentiment or the sarcasm behind it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so anytime something negative gets detected, that's when I come in over there, and my job is to turn that negative conversation that's been happening into a positive one. Yeah.
Okay.
So my tools, honesty, openness, just talk to the person, try to figure out exactly where the concerns are, see how you can address them in the best way possible, and ensure that the interaction that you have with the consumer leaves the consumer with a smile on their face. That's about it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like for example, for a brand like Pepsi, you get. I mean, I wouldn't really go into deep down into the numbers and everything, but you get close to about say 3 to 4,000 of these conversations that happen. Yeah.
Wow.
You have a lot of conversations, and especially right now, it's summer. That's the time when the advertising cycles are at the highest. So you have ads releasing almost every week. You have your 7-Up, you have everyone who's releasing their ads, the Mountain Dew one. Yeah, so you have a lot of conversation that's been created. So this is the time when I'm the most busiest. So
and when you're talking about these conversations, is it across platforms or are you looking at only Twitter as a social media platform?
Absolutely not. So we have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have Pinterest, we even go right down till consumer complaint boards, forums.
Okay.
Anything in the online and digital world.
Okay.
So
okay.
Do you track the offline content as well?
No, we don't track offline content. No.
Okay.
No, it's only online.
Okay, so something like what SBI has done recently. Say SBI was, SBI put out a full page ad on all the leading newspapers and say, okay, we have 5 million Facebook followers. It's so that was kind of a very intriguing ad. So how do you consider that as a reputation failure, or how would you classify that?
Well, not really. Well, okay. See, the thing is, first of all, it makes no sense in bringing out a full page front page ad on a leading daily saying that you've gotten so many followers on Facebook. Because, the audience is completely different. I mean, that's not something that you put out on a newspaper.
Right.
So, I don't know about the numbers. I don't know, what kind of impact it had and what was the original thinking that went into, releasing something like that. And I don't know what the objective was, and I don't know whether it was achieved. So again, I wouldn't be the perfect person to comment on it because I wouldn't know exactly what they're trying to achieve. But it's an interesting story. Yes.
I guess the only thinking was that March 31st was coming. They have to use the budget.
That's a brilliant guess, Malar.
so coming back to, I would probably like to go over the basics. Say probably if you are talking about reputation management. So why do we usually say track only the online? Most of them track the online, but I guess we lost him. Sorry.
I think we lost him. Let me check message.
Wait. So Falguni, did you see that ad? Because I kind of, I
I
don't know, I
did.
reacted
I
funnily.
did. I did.
Uh,
I did.
so from advertising sense, do you say that it was a blunder, or probably
It
they
was
would
a
have?
blunder because your properties on online space, you don't go into offline media and announce, right? You have to utilize it in the online space itself. If you have so many billion followers, people are as it is going to know about it. Why do you have to give it in newspaper? Wherein the newspaper consuming audience is never going to go online.
Okay, but the other part was, say, probably my take was like, say it was more like uh, you can say I am the best kind of, so it's more of a show of strength to other
Yeah, but I
banks.
believe, but in that space, it was not I am best, but it was like I am also reinventing myself because SBI has been fighting with this being the fuddy duddy, granddaddy, daddy's bank. So that
Right, right, yeah,
perception is there. So I think while we are on a perception shift session, I think it was to
exactly.
shift the perceptions that we too have an online presence. But I don't know whether it was a good idea to spend so much of money, offline.
Oh yeah,
That
oh yeah,
still
that
is
is
a big question. Yeah.
they did spend
Yeah,
crazy amount of
Abhishek,
money on that.
yeah, I'm sure. I think he's trying to call in, right?
Yes, yes, I just got him in. So meanwhile, people on the
Yeah.
chat, if you would have any question, you can type it right away. I'm sure you can relate easily to reputation management. All the questions right away will while we get Abhishek back. And you know the ritual. So if you want to share it, use the thing on the left. If you want to have put a question, use the thing on right. So I would
Malhar, do
love.
you want to tell Abhishek that he can even try from his phone? Like
Yeah,
that day it was.
yeah, I'm asking him to join again. So I
Yeah,
guess he
okay.
just. I Okay, he's back.
I guess he's trying, yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to get in.
Yeah.
Not yet, Abhishek. We can't see or hear you yet. I guess we will just wait for him.
You want to tell him to try mobile?
Right.
Just see because last time it worked
Yes,
very well.
yeah. Yeah, Abhishek, you can either hang up to restart the browser and come back in, or you can also try it via mobile phone. So if you have an Apple, it would be easy, but Android again, it would be tough. So, anyways, you can probably. Okay, I just see him again. So let me see. Okay. Okay, unfortunately, it's not able to. Okay, he's restarting his browser and coming back in, so we'll have to wait for a moment. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
Sorry to keep you waiting. But yeah, again, if you have a question which you want to talk about, we can put it right away. And meanwhile, probably Falguni, we can grill each other.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
So in fact, I was thinking whether the digital world is turning into a boon or a bane, for reputation. Because while you have, okay, I think easier.
Yep, I'm back.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Yes. Welcome back. I think now Malhar's screen is frozen, but we'll keep talking. Yeah, Malhar, you're there?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. Hey, Abhishek.
So
Good
in
to see you
fact,
back.
if I can,
Hi.
yeah.
Hey, sorry.
So in fact,
Blab is
Abhishek, we were
sometimes
talking
crazy.
while you were offline, we were talking about how digital world, is it turning out to be a boon or a bane for marketers? Because while on one hand, of course, you have too many opinions floating, you get info, you can listen. But on the other hand, there is also this issue of mob mentality and tokenism. So I may not have experience, but I just RT a tweet just to be in sync with whatever is perceived as cool around me. So any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So it's very difficult. See, it's a very unique opportunity that marketers have had. I mean, it's something that they wanted to have since a while because it's a two-way communication, something that you've not had in the offline world for a long, long time. So yeah, of course, there are teething issues and there are certain things that will take it'll take a while for it to normalize and it'll take a while for it to for everybody to figure out how to work this system. And I mean, to be very honest, marketers weren't even looking at social seriously until the last couple of years.
Correct.
It's probably like, acha theek hai, offline ke liye budget, we are done with it. We have a little bit left, like a 5% or 6%. Let's just pump it in social. There's no clear set agenda as to, okay, this should be our social strategy for this year. This is what we're going to get out of it. This is what, I mean, there's nothing that's in place. But having said that, of late, we are seeing quite a few brands investing in social and trying to understand the space and trying to figure out how to exploit it in the best way possible, because it's a mine of data. There's a lot of data that exists there, but how do you make good sense of this data is the biggest challenge that you face right now, because like you said, you probably just RT the tweet. Now that is a blip in the data. Like, I see that, so I put out a certain post that got a certain amount of retweets. Now, so what does that actually mean to me as a brand? How do I make sense of it? So maybe a post that went out today got 200 retweets and the post that went out on Sunday got 500 retweets. So how does it make a difference to me as a brand? What was it perceiving while he was RTing? So those are things that we still don't have answers to be very honest. It is still something that is in the nascent stage, and we are still trying to figure out a good strategy with which we can go with. But yeah, so you have a lot of tools now that help you, and I mean, yeah, I probably give it another 3-4 years before we actually understand social and we can actually make proper sense out of it.
Okay.
So okay, where the way I was going across, say again, was the practical part of it. So would you want to pick up a particular example and say this is how an online reputation management has helped, or not doing an ORM was catastrophic?
Absolutely. I have a certain category that I like to talk about. I don't know how many of you have seen the Exide life insurance ad, the Jugaad one. The Sulekha one.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. So, both the ads, unfortunately, were released on the same day. And both of them had very, very similar visual references and very, very similar storylines. Now, it could be a very big disaster. This could have been a big disaster because you have two agencies which came out with the same ad on the same day. And it could have backfired in a certain way. But now, how do we handle it? So that's when we realize that it's a big opportunity. Now you have a lot of these people who go on to social and who talk about it and who will obviously make pointed references to it, and have a narrative on it, have an opinion on it, have a perspective on it. Now, what you can do is you can listen into these conversations, you can talk to them, you can be honest, you can address everything that you get your way, and make sure that nobody who's somewhat social and nobody who's spoken about it goes away with a wrong perception. I mean, let me just look at some figures which I wanted to share with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm just going to read off some facts. So both of them were released on the same day. Suleka's was released at 9 in the morning and ours was at 5 in the evening. Yeah. So both of them were centered around Jugaad, and both of them had Jugaad as the main concept of the film. Now, a big question.
And both of them look so similar.
Yes,
they look
absolutely.
so similar.
Yeah.
Phil?
It's kind of like a big compliment for us because Prasoon Pandey directed the Suleka one, and it was like a small team from some unknown agency which directed the other one, and it's like okay, fine, our thinking is right up there with the big guys, so it's a nice thing.
Yeah, so that's nice. What you get clear on. Your thinking is the best.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. So okay, there are certain things that you need to follow as part of handling reputation. One is you got to be transparent and honest. So if you cannot be transparent and honest, and if you're looking at deceiving people, then there's no point in doing it. Yeah. So no matter whatever it is, you got to be transparent. You got to be honest, and you need to find a way in which you can tell the consumer that, like, for example, anybody who is coming and asking us, there are people who are asking us. There were people who are asking Suleka. There were people who are just randomly talking about it in forums and everywhere else. And we just went out and we were just very transparent and honest and told them that, listen, this is just a coincidence that happened, and that's just about it. And all we did was we were transparent and honest in our answers. That is one thing that you can do. Yeah. Like, for example, you have this person who's come up and who said, either Suleka has copied this Jugaad idea of advertising from X-Side, or X-Side has copied it from Suleka. Ya fir a common advertising company made fool of both companies. So you see a conversation like that happening on Twitter, right? So how do you go and how do you respond to that? You first of all take a call. Should I respond to it as a brand? Should I not? So Suleka, for example, did not respond to this. Even though they were mentioned over there, they did not respond to this. But we went ahead and we told them, I mean, our response was hi. It was neither of the three scenarios. Two different agencies made the ads. Both ads had a face-off recently. Even though they do appear similar, the takeaways are very different. We want customers to understand that while shortcuts work sometimes, they aren't always the best solution. So, like I said, just being transparent, you're being honest, and you're just going there and you're telling them the truth. And nothing can go wrong with that. Yeah. And okay, so are you guys familiar with the concept of earned conversations and owned conversations?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing is you do not ignore your earned conversations. A lot of brands ignore their earned conversations. They do not bother with them. But it's a very, very important thing to actually address the earned conversations, because they're equally as important as your own conversations. So the other thing we did was, the other thing which Suleka didn't do and what we did was we went ahead and we addressed all the earned conversations as well. Yeah. And also the third thing is, as an organization, we took a call to answer all questions. We didn't leave a single question unanswered. So even if we didn't, even if it was a very difficult question to answer, we still went ahead and we answered all of them. So there wasn't a question that we shied away from. Yeah. That's one thing. Now, the biggest advantage with having done this is, these are estimates. These are guesstimated things. Okay. So, for example, our budget, if it was X, Suleka's budget was 10X. But the recent impressions that we got were 0.9X, whereas Suleka's was X. So you see what I'm saying? At 1/10 the cost that we invested into the film, we eked out as much reach and impressions as Suleka did. Simply because of the fact that Suleka did not bother responding to any of their conversations, did not bother talking to any of the people. at mentioning their names or bringing up the question. So my point is just you can't just ignore ignore people talking about you, and you can't just ignore a problem hoping that if you ignore it, it's going to go away. It's something that is there. You need to address it. You just got to be honest and transparent about it. Just go and talk and make sure that it works. That's about it.
Okay, that's a nice point actually. So, see, again, coming from a B2B kind of organization, do you see a difference in a way how ORM is done for a B2C compared to a B2B brands?
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm assuming that in a B2B scenario, the closest B2B organization that we do ORM for would probably be Microsoft, but that is also a few pages of this. So I'm guessing the number of conversations that you'd have around a B2B is very less. Yeah, and also you'll have to understand that in a B2B scenarios, or even in a B2C scenario, most of your conversations are opportunities to be turned into leads.
Right. Right.
Correct.
Also in a B2B scenario, because over here, in a B2B scenario, there's a clear-cut agenda and a clear-cut purpose as to why somebody will be talking about you. Whereas in a B2C, it could be a whole lot of things. So, in my opinion, a B2B scenario would be very straightforward for reputation management. Whereas for a B2C scenario, it's a lot more complicated and it's very, very nuanced.
Right. But in terms of the value, say for a B2C, it would be you are dealing with a $10 product. Anything that is said about a product, say probably the loss that could happen for that product or that brand would be little less compared to a B2B where the ticket sizes, you talk about a multi-million-dollar deal and someone who's say putting the brand on the on fire, it could be disastrous, right? So do you have the same?
Yeah, that is absolutely true. Also you'll have to understand that even though it's just a $5 product as opposed to a multi-million-dollar product. So okay, so one thing, if it's a question of $1 million, the person at the other end is going to actually examine and look deeper into the issue than just look at a conversation on social and make up his mind. I mean, I do understand it does play a certain role in a certain way, but my point is that the kind of impact that has on his decision, like amount that you could factor in his decision making would be a lot lesser than, say, for example, I'm a consumer. I saw something and I heard something about Maggie. Yeah, and I immediately panic because it's something that I consume on a daily basis, and I panic about that, and that panic will go viral, and that's where the danger is. If you don't address it, if you don't stop it where it is with the truth and with the facts, it has this potential to go viral, and when it goes viral, it will have very, very deep repercussions for a lot of brands. So I thought that okay, fine, if the first few people who started talking about it, if we had gone and addressed it right there, then that would have corrected the perceptions of a lot more other people who cascaded after that.
Right.
So in that sense, a B2C conversation is a lot more important than a B2B conversation because of the fact that a B2B conversation where you're talking about a multi-million-dollar deal, the person would again examine it a lot more deeply with a lot more perspectives and with a lot more angles than this person who'd be thinking about Maggie and just jump to a conclusion based on what he read or saw on social.
Okay,
I was thinking, So I was thinking, Abhishek, that when you do this, like social listening forms a big part of your reputation management, which you do it online. Yep. So when you do social listening, it leads you to quite a few word clouds, if I'm right. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Like if you do a mood analysis or a sentiment analysis, then it will lead you to a lot of word clouds. Now, are they like closely monitored and used further in brands' communication messages? How advertising agencies will use it in their copy? Is it like only in theory a feel-good factor, or is it really done?
Okay, so to answer your question, most companies don't do that right now. Most companies generally do not take branding decisions based on conversations they've listened to on social. Because right now they'd rather go to an agency who would do a branding exercise for them than to look at social and get insights from there. But that situation is changing slowly. You have a lot more brands that are seriously listening on social, and you do have a lot of brands that okay, for example, I'm not going to disclose the name of the client, but then very recently we discovered, okay, we did a little bit of social listening ourselves, and what we discovered is that a lot of people, say for example, consume food during and after a match, say a football match or a cricket match. Yeah. So for you, your conversation needs to be pushed at around the time when the match is ending, which was kind of like, it goes against the face of logic because you want to do it before the match starts. But contrary to what, while doing our research on social and while doing a lot of analysis, we discovered that actually happens afterwards. So, like I said, so, if you actually sit and study, and if you actually look at conversations and listen to them and do a proper qualitative analysis, you will get a lot of insights, which a lot of brands have been, unfortunately overlooking over the last few years, but it's really picking up.
Was this for Zomato?
No, not Zomato.
So before we hang up, I have two questions. So say number one is say for brands to maintain their reputation, online reputation, what are certain steps that they should be doing? That is one. The last question from me would be should brands outsource their ORM or have it keep it in source? So should they manage themselves or should they give it to the agency?
Right.
Two parts.
Good one. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll answer your first question. Okay. I'm sorry. Could you repeat the first one?
Okay. First one was, so for a brand to maintain their reputation, what are say 1, 2, 3, or 4 steps that they should do?
Okay. One, do not ignore any conversation. Even though they might be owned or they might be earned, do not ignore a conversation. 2, if you see a problem that's happening there, do not hope that by ignoring it you will go away and you don't have to talk about it. And 3, all your communication, be open, be transparent, be honest, and that would solve most of your problems. Yeah. So if you if you keep all these checkpoints, in my experience from what I've done, you can drive down negative conversations down to like 1/10 of what they were. It just takes you about 6 months of doing this consistently, and you'll see results. Yeah. And second question, well, should they outsource it or should they do it in-house? Well, I'd probably say outsource because that's where I come in. No, but to be very honest, it should be an in-house function.
Don't be politically correct.
Yeah, that was a politically correct answer.
Yeah. Tell us the ideal scenario.
Yeah, so the ideal scenario is when you do it in-house because there are a lot of teams that are involved when it comes to response management. You have your legal team, you have your research team, you have the technical teams that come in, then you have the marketing team. You have a whole lot of people who weigh in before you start responding to a consumer. So somebody who is from the company will have a deep understanding of these different functions and
correct.
How to integrate all of them and get all of their opinions before you actually go and answer consumers' question. Because
I think we lost him.
Yeah. Abhishek, I guess we lost you again. Let us wait for a minute and see. Okay.
Yeah.
you'll have to understand
Okay, he is locked off. So just just give me a moment. I'll just reach out to him. Another problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we are little over, say about 10 minutes into. So if you want to wind up and
He's
probably
calling
catch up,
in if we
yes.
can.
Okay, he is here.
But he's calling in if we can just call and say
Yes.
thank you and yeah.
All right. He is.
Yeah, sorry about that. I got kicked off again.
Yes, Abhishek.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. So we are almost about to, complete. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
Abhishek. Yeah. Hey. Yep. You're back.
Yeah, so like I was saying,
So you want to continue, say, in-house versus
answering a simple
say
question from a
outsource?
consumer.
Yeah.
You have a lot of functions that weigh in, like your legal, your research, your the technical departments. Everybody weighs in, and then only a response goes out. So you could do it in-house. It's a lot. It becomes a lot more easier because whoever's doing it needs to understand all these functions and how they integrate together. So each one has its own nuances. So in that way, it's a lot better if it's done in-house. But having said that, we've done it wonderfully well for Pepsi in the last 1 year. So we are like a proper case study as to how it would work outsourced as well.
No, in fact, while you're right that a lot of control and integration will be better if you do it in-house, but I still feel the other point that you had said a little earlier that there's a lot of data floating in, but who does the analysis of data? The tracking part is agreeable, but who does the analysis? So I think for that, so having someone from outside makes better sense because he's a specialist and he will key in the right data and convert it into insights for the company.
Absolutely.
But I think the keyword here is, I think Malhar, not in-house or out-house, but I think the keyword here is integration between, whoever is doing it externally, but it has to be extremely integrated with people inside the organization. So the ownership cannot shift of the brand. The outside agency can work for you, but you still own the brand, right? So
absolutely, I completely agree with you. Yep.
Right. So
yeah,
I guess we just went little overboard with an interesting topic. So that was expected. I am sure the conversation was fruitful. But yeah, thank you, thanks, Abhishek. I guess we are about on the hour. We are on the hour, 10 o'clock. So thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts. I'm sure we'll be connected on different platforms. And before we log off, just a quick say word of you. Where can people find you? So
yeah, so I'm accessible on Twitter, on Facebook,
areas,
and pretty much on any social media. My Twitter handle, I think, is I think it's displayed here.
Yeah, it's here, Abhishek Shroff.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
You can follow. You can any questions you might have. I'd love to answer. So you can follow me on Twitter.
So thank you so much for coming in. Yeah.
So no, I believe I believe you listen to yourself pretty clearly.
And thank you so much for coming in. And in fact, I remember that our first point of contact was social media. So we know each other through social media, and we invited you through social media. Malar had invited you in a line of conversation. So we'll keep the conversation going. And I want to try and bring you to Mica to talk to my students about these case studies. So let's keep in
I'd love
touch.
to do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
I have
you
a
so
whole
much.
lot of case studies that I'd love to talk to you guys about.
Right.
Great. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. And people on the audience, finally, just before you leave, we have this Facebook group. Here is the link to the Facebook group. If you want to join, this is to take the conversation beyond this 30 minutes. So if you want to interact there, know more about what we do, and keep in touch.
And
That's the
Abhishek,
place where
we
you
will
go.
invite you.
Thanks,
and
Abhishek. Thanks
we would wish
again.
you to come every
and
Wednesday
we'll see you
for our Blab show as an audience.
Absolutely,
Yeah?
I would love to do that. Yeah.
Great. Bye, Malhar. Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Good night.